Hey, this is Carnage, the Chris Carnage Show, and we are live on Twitch and on podcastcity.net, and we have a great show lined up for you and an amazing guest here as well. But make sure that you go and check out on all of our social media offerings. You just got to go to Facebook at /Chris Carnage Official, on Twitch at /Chris Carnage Official, and on Twitter at Planet Carnage. But like I said, this is going to be a really great show. And I'd like to welcome right now none other than my amazing guest, Jeff Yeager. How are you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm hanging another not so cold day here in Florida, so just doing what I can. So it'll be a great show. I'm so happy. We have so much to talk about. And first things first that I want to get to, though, is that you're an author nowadays, and you have actually written numerous books. And I'd like to get down that line. And I heard you actually write with the publisher Hanacroy Creek Brooks Incorporated, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And you've definitely put out some good works, and I've been able to read a little bit of it. But I want to start with the first one right off the top of the list, Adam and Eve. What can you tell us about this great novel?
Sure. So where do we start? I guess I wrote Adam and Eve when I was 21. About 2 years old. A lot was going on, and I kind of just picked up my computer, started writing one day. The idea of Adam and Eve is around, pretty much takes out half the country, and a female scientist comes up with the answer that everyone wants to take. But what you come to know is that there's side effects to this antidote, and the men that take it become, feminized, and the women that take it become more masculinated. And it's funny because I wrote it in 2011, and it actually became a lot more prevalent nowadays, and a lot more topic worthy. Everybody. It came out when I was about 23, and yeah, I mean, I was just starting to get into writing. I was there tenfold. Since I actually went back to college and started taking creative writing classes, that's really changed my writing. But that was my first book, Adam and Eve. Yeah.
Definitely. And it definitely gave a great look into that. But then you kind of changed gears when you came out with another book that was, if I'm not mistaken, co-authored by you and a man named Sky Bynes, called I Like God, a novel. What can you tell us about that?
So let's rewind about 5 years ago. Sky, one of my best friends of all time, moved from Alabama down to Florida to live with me. And while he was trying to look for a job the first 4 or 5 months, when he got here, I kind of just threw the idea that I was writing a new book, and not really having much else better to do, he asked me, "Can I help you?" So I said, "All right, let's see what happens." So we spent about 2 weeks writing this book, I Like God. It's about this kid, Joey Taylor, that creates a Facebook page for the most part. It's called Face Space in the book, but it's like Facebook, and it's a page for God. Mm-hmm. And then he goes off the grid because he's a little too cool for it. And then years later, his girlfriend wants him to, add him as her boyfriend on Facebook, change her relationship status. So he logs back on to find that his God page now had millions upon millions of likes, and followers. So Joey's kind of a rebel, and he takes his newfound, I guess, fame or infamy, and starts to toy with it. Messes with a couple companies, a lot of people, and I mean, it's kind of a social commentary on the world we live in. When you look at social media, it blends a little bit of that with, I guess, religion and religious concepts. I mean, I Like God is probably my favorite novel that I've published so far, besides the following two that I have coming out in the next in this year. So that's probably my greatest accomplishment, writing.
Hmm.
And it was cool to write with one of my best friends, former tag team partner, or yeah, to this day we still tag sometimes. So yeah, it was just cool to be able to do something like that with a close friend, you know. Um, yeah,
Definitely. Definitely. And it really,
yeah,
like you said, it really touched on social media and all the things that kind of envelop people's lives these days. And I was even reading some of the reviews for this book where people feel like, man, it really encompasses what a lot of people are dealing with on a social media basis, to where once you get a lot of this
yeah,
attention and everything going, people grow complexes. And it seems like it's become
absolutely.
popular out of nowhere.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at Instagram and just how the way the world we live in today, I think, yeah, like you said, complex, and to add on to that, people have God complexes on top of that.
Hmm.
So when you mix the two, it can get a little chaotic. And yeah, I just thought it was a cool concept to toy with. And hey, I mean, look at the influence that people have today on social media. It's insane.
Oh, yeah.
Some people can snap their fingers and have 100,000 people doing whatever they tweeted or posted, you know. So that's where I was going with the original idea.
Hmm.
Ironically, there's a new show out on CBS. It's a kind of like a family show, but it's called God Friended Me.
Mm.
And I've been getting dozens and dozens of emails telling me they stole the idea, and I say, no, it's not stealing. I think a lot of people are coming to grips with this fact. So, but it felt good to know that we were the first to play with it. You know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And hey, trendsetter. but
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
but you definitely changed gears when you came out with one of your next books, which was The Question Is Why, which was illustrated by Nancy Petra. And it delved into the children's side of writing books. But this one, though, it really helped answer or really put out that question, especially one that children always ask: why?
Yeah, so that one, my son actually inspired. My mom was visiting from Connecticut, and I guess she mentioned to me that my son, he's so curious and bright, and he's always asking why. He doesn't just take things as they are.
Hmm.
So she thought of it. She's like, what if you made that into a book? And I was like, I don't know what kind of book that would be. So I kind of played around with it, and we got an illustrator, Nancy, who's incredible. She actually just did the cover for my new book, and yeah, I mean, it's for really young ages. Every page it pretty much goes through the alphabet, asking, pretty much why is the sky blue? Why do dogs bark? Very simple stuff,
Hmm.
and yeah, the idea is to encourage. I think it's a good question. Why? I don't think parents should get mad so much about that instead of be happy that your kid's curious about the world and wants to find out things.
Definitely, definitely. And I have to agree with that because kids are always so curious. But if you block that, they're gonna lose interest in things.
Absolutely. Or they'll just try to go on their phone and play Fortnite or something for the rest of their life. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
So,
be like my son on the other side of this wall right now, just doing nothing but playing
ex-
Fortnite.
exactly. Exactly.
But then again, you also kept with this theme when you ended up working on another book, which was narrated by Russell Bernstein, and that was My Lucky Hat, a short story. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that's not technically a book. Like, we didn't print it. It's
Hmm.
not a physical copy, but it is an ebook. It's a short story, and it's pretty much about a guy finding a hat blowing in the wind, and it's similar to a Doug episode, for a Doug Funny
Uh,
episode growing up, and he catches this hat, and he gets a bunch of good luck, and luck keeps coming to him, and at the end, he pretty much, he wants to share the luck, and he lets the hat go. So. Um, that's a short story. So I haven't published that one, but yes, it is an ebook that you can find on Amazon. So that's kind of cool.
yeah, very nice, very nice. And yes, all these books you can find on Amazon if anybody's interested in trying to find them. But we're going to go
For
ahead and
sure.
switch gears into something you've done a lot of under the name of J Free, and that is put out a
Right.
lot of music. What can you tell us about all that?
Music. Music makes you lose control, man. Well, I guess I've been rapping since I was, 12. Not seriously or anything, just
Hmm.
messing around with my friends, running around gym class, freestyling at the mall and the elevators, like just having fun with it. And then when I was around 18, I started to really try to write raps and record with my friends. I had a rap group called The Herd when we were young. A bunch of my friends were in college. I was having a son, and so I got the name Jay Free. I was with a buddy, and he was like, "We got to play with your name, Jeffrey. What can we do with that?" So that's how that spiraled into Jay Free, and then I started recording mixtapes on my own for years and years. A few years ago, I put out like 10 mixtapes in 1 year, which was an overabundance of music that I probably didn't need to make, but it was a great release and a great stress outlet. And then about a year and a half ago, I linked up with Manifest Destiny. He's out of Clearwater/Largo, and his engineering is top notch. He's probably the best rapper, best artist I know. He was big in the battle rap industry. And so when I started recording with him, we did my first album, which was the first thing I decided to put on the iTunes, the Spotify, and all the streaming sites. And it actually got pretty well received reviews, which was surprising. And, you never know with music, especially with the music out nowadays.
Very true.
So I was pretty, happy with the feedback I got on Existential Crisis that came out not last summer, but the summer before. And then I just dropped my most recent album, Extraterrestrial Activity. Technically, it came out last week onto all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Tidal, you name it. And that one is primarily about aliens. Well, UFOs, aliens, and that whole topic, to say the least. If you see the shirt, aliens exist. I actually got fascinated with aliens in the last few years, and I decided, there's a few rappers that have done it. Lil Wayne has an album, I Am Not a Human Being. Outkast has AT-Aliens. So I'm not the first to do it, but and that one seems to be getting good response. I'm happy about that. We'll see. Only time can tell how it does. It just
Very
came
true.
out. But yeah, music's great, man. I love making music. I think we all love music at its core.
Most definitely. Everybody finds some kind of connection with some type of genre of music, one way or the other. But to be able to be an actual musical artist, what is the inspiration that helped you create all of this music?
Besides the fact that I looked up to guys like Eminem and Busta Rhymes, Nas, DMX, stuff like that growing up, and I always, obviously portrayed myself as like becoming a superstar of some sort. I love the process of taking maybe a verse that I wrote and finding a beat. And at first it might seem like they might not go together. And if I really work on it, I can get the flow and the melodies and the hooks and everything to go together. So when it's done, it's almost like they were made for each other. I've definitely progressed a lot over the last 5-10 years of music. My first videos on YouTube are complete and utter nonsense. Just like me rapping around with my friends Ryan and Taylor at like our apartment, and like just being kind of young and dumb. And now I'm starting to try to send a message with it. Inspiration, it comes in all sorts of ways. My newest album, I have a song about my son where I actually like sing a little bit. The moment you give up trying to find inspiration, the moment you lose it all. So,
Most definitely. But with that, we're going to change gears real quick and make sure that we pay the light bill as we go and thank all of our wonderful sponsors, including 3 Count Design, who actually redesigned the current Podcast City Network that just unveiled at our 1 anniversary event at City Limits Taproom. Make sure you go check out 3 Count Design on Facebook and Podcast City Network to get a 10% off discount. You can also check out City Limits Taproom in D-Land, Florida, the home of Draft Day, and was the home of our podcast 1-year anniversary. You got 2620 North Woodland Boulevard in D-Land. We also have Atlantic Sound Record, one of our big sponsors over there in Daytona Beach, Florida. Make sure you check them out for all their vinyl, CD, and So go see what they have. We also would like to thank Sports Sanity Custom, who created all Podcast City Network apparel. Make sure you Sports Sanity Custom online and also Kentucky Zone Wrestling, located in Kentucky, run by the only JJ McGuire, who's at our Podcast City Network 1 year. Check out Kentucky Zone Wrestling on Facebook. And all of this has been made possible by Podcast City Network. Make sure you check out Podcast City Network on Facebook at /Podcast City Network, on Twitter at Podcast City Net, and at Twitter at Podcast, on our website at podcastcity.net. It's always a mouthful to say all that, I tell you what. Man. It is. And, you know, it just keeps growing day by day just because we keep getting new sponsors, more people that want to be involved with the network. Always a lot of crazy things happening, a lot of wrestling now, too. So much wrestling that it's kind of getting out of control. But there is one thing I do want to talk to you about, and that is your wrestling. Now, I know you've worked a couple promotions around Florida and probably the whole east side of the country. What can you tell us about your wrestling career?
It hurts.
Definitely does.
You know, it's funny. Wrestling, it's crazy. I think wrestling is at the pinnacle. I think wrestling, like, you know, obviously we look back on the 80s and 90s as like the good old glory days. But if you really look at opportunity, if you look at how many businesses are thriving, the fact that people can have careers in this field without having to be part of the big one, the top dogs. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing, especially for someone like me who's, you know, definitely put in the work of, you know, wrestling in front of anywhere from 10 to, you know, 500 people. I started wrestling I got trained when I was 15 in New Jersey. I had my first professional match when I was, you know, about the time I turned 16. And since then, you know, I probably wrestled about 1,500 matches. I'm taking a little
including
bit
a couple against yours truly.
Yeah, those are some of my favorite, actually. You know, Chris was one of my toughest opponents to date, I must say. The man's a beast.
You flatter me.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling is crazy. I'm 29 and wrestling for so long. I can't lie and say my body is completely healed. I've broken, you know, over 10 bones, gotten tons of, you know, concussions and stitches and this, that, and the other thing. A lot of scares. So with having a 9-year-old son, I think taking a little step away from it, focus on my, you know, college and other careers like music and writing has been a big step for me, because wrestling is in your blood. You get the itch. You want to go back and do it. Once you have one match, it doesn't matter how much in pain you are. You're ready to go back in front of the crowd and give them the best show you can. And yeah, I mean, it's always going to be there for me. I still work with ACW, which is a company near me. They're about 20 minutes, you know, their shows are about 20 minutes away. So I try to help out with them as much as possible. I probably had a few matches with them in the last year. But yeah, I mean, I'm taking a little bit. My body's really happy about the fact that I'm taking a little break. My neck, you know, my back. But
your neck,
you know,
and your back?
Yeah, my neck, my back, everything else you could think of. And yeah, I mean, it's tough because, you know, I feel like the more I don't do it, the more it's going to hurt when I go back. But it's like riding a bike, you know. I'll take bumps till the day I die, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love wrestling. I love the wrestling business. I mean, I've had parts where it's been a love-hate relationship, you know what I mean? It can be very discouraging getting yourself out there and having to drive countless hours just to maybe either get paid, you know, nothing or a hot dog or even $20. It can be rough, but there's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of opportunities for people out there, especially for people like me who are innovative and who see wrestling in a different side of it, having to be just one big guy or one strong guy going against another strong guy. You know, because not everyone's Brock Lesnar. So at one point there was only one Rey Mysterio, and now there's thousands of guys like doing what, you know, that type of thing. So I love seeing it progress. If you asked me if I watched it every week, I couldn't say yeah, but I definitely keep up with it all. I watch Royal Rumble. I'm gonna watch Mania.
Mhm.
I watch all the big ones. I love Money in the Bank, all that stuff. So, I'm happy with where it's going, and I wish the wrestling business the absolute best of luck. One of my new books is actually about a wrestler turned UFC fighter.
Very
So,
nice. And what can you tell us about that?
yeah. So the title is not definite, but it's at this moment it's called When Worlds Collide, and it's pretty much about like a death match style spot monkey wrestler who's known for flying off like roofs through glass tables and barbed wire. And then he pretty much has a moment where he gets into a bar fight and he like has to stick up for a bunch of guys after a show.
Mm.
And he ends up beating up like 5 or 10 guys at once, badass. And he goes viral because someone videotapes it. So when he gets out of jail, he has all these like fighting companies coming after him to come work for them.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, there's a lot of money in this. They're offering me good pay. So he takes it and he comes to find after training with like a master of jujitsu and martial arts and all this stuff, judo, wrestling, and he actually does pretty good. I'm not going to say it's like CM Punk because CM Punk got his ass handed to him, but in the sense that it's a wrestler and it's a death match wrestler. So this dude isn't scared to take a beating. So by the end of the book, you see a lot of polar similarities between wrestling and UFC or cage fighting, and a lot of it's about, I think back in the day, a lot of people used to throw around the word fake a lot. And I think a lot of wrestlers now are starting to prove that a lot of them can hang with some of the best fighters in the world. If you look at Jack Swagger, just made his Bellator debut and won in 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Or guys like Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar or Ronda Rousey. The sport is. I'm proud to say that for all the times I was in science class and I was 10 years old and some kids would pick on me saying blah, 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 blah. And I'd almost fight them because they told me Bret the Hitman Hart actually didn't beat people up with a sharpshooter. but yeah, so that's that.
Oh man, yeah, and wrestling's definitely come a long way too since guys like us got into it. Even because when I got into it is back in the early to mid 2000s, and wrestling was kind of going through a transition period at the time where it was kind of coming out of the Attitude Era, kind of going into the Ruthless Aggression era, and then inevitably the PG era, and it's definitely progressed even to now where it's innovative, it's exciting, but it's definitely different. What do you feel about wrestling going forward with a lot of this talent that's coming from all walks of life, from all corners of the world into WWE and these other large promotions, and being the new front of wrestling?
I think it's great. I think, like I was saying, there's so many opportunities out there. At one point, there was only one top of the mountain, and now you could look at it with a whole bunch of other perspectives. I don't want to, talk about AEW too much because they've only had one show,
Right.
but if you see how even the WWE's starting to line up all their ducks in a row, and it's really becoming I don't want to say like WCW versus WWF days, but we have New Japan, we have Ring of Honor, we have Impact's making a real comeback, and WWE is always going to be good as long as there's entertainment. As long as entertainment's around, WWE's kosher. And I think anyone that was ever scared that wrestling would fall off the face of the earth, well, they're wrong. It's here for the long run, and I just hope that there's better policy changes where these wrestlers are protected, because I'm sick of seeing some of my idols lose their lives before the ages of 30, 40, 50, 60, whether it be from concussions or painkillers or this, that, and the other thing. So I think it's evolved to the place where it is today, and I just hope the future of it takes care of it, because kayfabe is alive and well, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And the big thing that you mentioned was trying to make it safer for talent going forward. We had Sean Phoenix actually on recently, which I don't know if you saw what he went through recently. He
Yeah.
Quite the tumble and went viral himself. And, a lot of people came out and really attacked him over that. And I thought it was kind of unfair given people were trying to make a judgment about this man's career based off of one spot in one match that just didn't happen to go right. And just as well as I do, anything can happen at any time in the ring, and whether we mean for it to or not. And at the end of the day, he is very lucky to be alive at this point, and is lucky that he's going to be able to make a return to wrestling. But with people like that, do you think the spot monkeys, quote unquote, of the world would end up getting into that kind of scene where they would end up maybe giving a black eye? Or is it just, we see these things happen and people are just kind of overblowing it because they don't see the whole, library of work?
Well, so Sean, all more power to him. He knows he did a crazy spot. He knows he messed up, and the unfortunate thing is a lot of people don't know him personally. A lot of people that know him are going to defend him. And if you just see a clip on the internet like World Star Hip Hop, you're going to laugh and go, ha ha, he got hurt. Mm-hmm. But yeah, these are real people. And he lost his hearing in one ear. But he's a tough guy. He's going to get back in the ring. Thank God he can even walk.
Yes.
Thank God he even has his life. And we've seen guys break their necks off stupid this, that, and the other thing. But you could also get hurt hitting the ropes. You can get hurt taking a regular back bump. You could have a heart attack doing this, that, and the other thing. So when you look at guys like Ricochet who really own their craft, I think as long as you pay close attention to being safe, keeping your opponent safe, I think the future's fine. I think not every wrestler out there is trying to have death matches and kill themselves at every single match, So, I hope Sean recovers as fast as possible, and I bet he's never going to do that again. I mean, it's like we learn by our mistakes, we learn by our experiences, and hey, at least he got to get on the New York Post or whatever over it,
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And what's funny is that right before he went viral, I had reached out to him. I was like, hey, bud, it's been a while. Let's bring you back on. We haven't had you on any of the shows in like a year. And then he goes viral like 2 weeks later. And I was like, all right, well, at least I'm top of the list.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure it's not for what he wanted to go viral for, but hey.
Well, yeah.
Exposure is exposure. Right?
They say any press is good press, right?
Exactly.
Oh, definitely. But let's get back to the matter at hand, and that's you. You've had all these great things you've done musically, as an author, as even a wrestler. But what are your plans coming up in the future? We already know about the one book you have coming out later this year, but what else does Jeff Yeager have going on?
So, I got about 2 semesters left of college, and then once that's done, hopefully I can use it to further my career choices. My dreams change weekly, daily, monthly. The one thing I'm happy that I can do is commit to books and music and stuff like that. But I have dreams to get into mobile apps. I have app ideas. I want to get into acting possibly. I'd love to be in TV or movies one day. But as long as I can keep a roof over my son's head and pay the bills and do what I gotta do to keep it moving, I'm happy. I have good support now. If I can get my thousands of followers to be 1 million, that'd be great. But I gotta stay humble. I'm in a good relationship now. I'm in a better place than I've probably ever been. So I count my blessings, not the days. You know what I mean?
Oh, most definitely, and I don't blame you there. And we definitely look forward to a lot of the stuff that you have coming out in the future, because we've already seen a lot of the great stuff that you've done. So I'm sure you're going to do nothing but rise to the top, just like the cream always does.
I hope so, man. Shout outs to Macho. Shout outs to Macho, man.
Yeah, that's right. But thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure. And where can they catch more of you and your books and your music? Where can they find all that?
Yeah, so to find my music, just search Jay Free on any of these streaming services. My album should come up if you want to search Existential Crisis or Extraterrestrial Activity. And then for all my books, type in Jeff Yeager on Amazon. You'll find them all. And I'll have 2 new ones out this year to look forward to. So those are the best places to find me. And holler me on Facebook if you see me, Jeff Yeager, or my music page free.
All right, awesome. Go check him out. This guy's going places. Make sure you keep an eye out. again, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck to you in the future.
Hey, thank you, Chris.
No
And
problem
you
at
too,
all.
Chris.
You take care. I tell you what, got all this great stuff going on, and it's always awesome to have great guests that always join us. And I tell you what, it's awesome, and we got a lot of great things to talk about as well. Just because we have the Royal Rumble to talk about, it's going to be really awesome. Just because I feel like WWE finally did some things that they should have, because I feel like they're getting kind of monotonous and repetitive, but we're going to touch on that in a minute, because we need to pay some bills first. And first things first, we need to thank our great sponsors, such as 3 Count Design, who just recently redesigned the Podcast City Network logo, which looks amazing. Make sure you reach out to 3 Count Design on Facebook, and make sure that you also mention Podcast City Network to get a 10% discount. We also like to thank City Limits Taproom, the official home of Draft Day, and was the home of the Podcast City Network 1-year anniversary show. Make sure you check them out at 2620 North Woodland Boulevard in beautiful D-Land, Florida. We also like to thank Kentucky's Own Wrestling, owned by the true master of wrestling ring music, JJ McGuire. Make sure you check out Kentucky's Own Wrestling on Facebook, and keep out your eyes glued to the Podcast City website, because we're always talking about all of their great events that they have coming up, and you go right down our homepage and find all those events there. Make sure you check out Kentucky's Own Wrestling. Also, Atlantic Sound Records in beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida. Make sure you go down to Atlantic Sound Records and check out all of their vinyl, CD, tape, and whatever else they might have down there. They have so much to go through, and I'm sure they'll have the music for you. Go check them out at Atlantic Sound Records in Daytona Beach, Florida. We also like to thank Sports Sanity Custom Apparel. They made all the Podcast Network shirts and probably making more for us, and they always have great quality, great shirts. They do such an amazing job. Make sure you check out Sports Sanity Custom online and in downtown D-Land, Florida. And all of this is made possible by Podcast City Network. Check out Podcast City Network on Facebook at /Podcast City Network. On Twitch at twitch.tv/Podcast City Network. On Twitter at Podcast City Net. And of course, make sure that you hop on over to the website at podcastcity.net. Man, I tell you what, a lot of great stuff going on tonight. And man, I love it. But we must talk about the one thing that happened this past week in the Royal Rumble, and that is the fact that with both Rumbles, we're not even going to talk about the matches necessarily, but we're going to talk about these Rumbles. And the thing that WWE finally did right, they've been pushing Braun Strowman down people's throats for so long, and not that Braun Strowman isn't enjoyable, but we've been seeing Braun Brock for so long. Braun gets so close to getting the title, but doesn't, and it just honestly just become a pain to keep seeing it over and over. It's getting dull. Why continue? Really? But they threw a curveball at everybody by having Seth Rollins win the men's Royal Rumble match, which I thought was great. The man deserves a push back in the main event scene. Sadly, though, on Raw the next night, he did make his decision by getting F5'd by Brock Lesnar 6 times. But hey, what are you really going to do? All right. But on the women's side, things got extremely interesting, because after both of the insane women's matches that happened, you had the women's Royal Rumble that took place. And what was so great about it was the fact that there was just always something happening, always something exciting, nice little spots here and there. And Kofi Kingston even moment. But the big thing that they have was someone who was not even entered into the match came out and won the match, and that was none other than the man, Becky Lynch. And she will go on now to face Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's title. And honestly, I think it's probably going to be the one match that might steal the show right out from under all the rest of the card and truly make a great WrestleMania moment. But it really just depends on how things work out on the road to WrestleMania, as always, because first things first is going to be Elimination Chamber. But again, that's for another episode. At this point, Chris Carnage is tuckered. He's done. You want to find out more, you can hit me up on Facebook at /Chris Carnage Official, on Twitter at Planet Carnage, or just watch some more of my stuff on twitch.tv /Chris Carnage Official, or just meander on over to podcastcity.net and check out all the great episodes of The Chris Carnage Show. But I tell you what, it's been a wonderful night. We thank Jeff Yeager again